Thank you. Thank you all. It's and I love you. What a journey we've been on. What a journey. I mean, this has been going on for over 2 years. I want to talk to you about some key things. Now, you're here for medical freedom, and I thank you for that. And I can tell you that the docs and the Unity Project, I've got your back. We're so grateful for all that you've done, and we're completely aligned with you. There is no medical emergency. There is no reason now for this bypassing of the Constitution. There's no reason for the declaration of emergency because there is no medical emergency. I'm going to tell you something else. That the mandates, there is no licensed vaccine. There is no licensed vaccine available in the United States. That's because there is an intentional strategy that was rolled out by a group called CEPI, which is funded by Bill and Melinda Gates in Norway. And CEPI put out a document almost a year ago that specifically said if you want to avoid liability, speaking to the vaccine manufacturers, if you want to avoid liability, don't ever market a licensed drug. Make sure that all of your vaccine is going into these countries under emergency use authorization protection. This was a conscious strategy promoted by CEPI, promoted by the U.S. government, and I got to tell you, this is going to shock you. The media lies. Okay, we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Now, the media loves to fact check me like they did. Boy, did it get ugly. The Washington Post, they called me a liar. You want to know why they said I was a liar when I spoke on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial? Because I said that with Omicron, these vaccines are not working. I said they're not protecting you from infection, they're not stopping the replication of the virus, and they're not protecting you from infecting others. And they said that was a lie. But what I say is we all know it. Everybody that went through Christmas, everybody that saw what's happened to your families with Omicron, I mean, come on. Obama's infected, okay? Jen Psaki's infected. Apparently, I'm told even Klaus Schwab is now infected. Okay? So the Washington Post tells me that I'm a liar because I told you that the vaccines aren't working to protect against infection, replication, and spread of Omicron. I say they're the liars. They're the ones spreading disinformation. They're the ones spreading misinformation. That was true then, it's true now. Now, what they always say when they fact check me on this point is they always say, well, the vaccines protect you against severe sickness, hospitalization, and death. Well, you know what? That's a little trick they're playing. Here's how that trick works. They look at all disease from the beginning of the outbreak, which, by the way, was September 2019. They look at all disease ever since September 2019, when, back to when we first had vaccines. They look at all those deaths, and they look at the deaths associated with the vaccinated and the unvaccinated since they rolled out the vaccines. But that's for viruses that don't exist anymore. They don't circulate. And they take all that data from the Alpha strain and the Delta strain, and they aggregate it, and they say, well, those data show that the vaccines are working. They're protecting against sickness and death. And what they don't do is they don't look at the data associated with Omicron, which is the virus that's circulating right now. Okay? But when I was speaking on the Washington, on the Lincoln Memorial, and when I'm speaking to you right now, I'm talking about the thing that matters to you and your children. What matters right now is Omicron. Now, do we have good data on Omicron? Well, in fact, the New York Times, okay, that bastion of progressive journalism, ergo woke journalism, the New York Times, the paper of record for the deep state, said on President's Day, they tried to hide it by dropping the article on President's Day, by the way, when no one's paying attention. They said, oh, the CDC has been withholding data all the way through since the beginning of the outbreak. They've not been sharing most of their data with medical professionals, healthcare providers, public policy makers, the state and local government officials, your school boards. They've been hiding all that data. And the New York Times said that the CDC has become politicized. It's a political operative arm of the White House. So the Washington Post and the New York Times and CNN like to say, oh, Malone is spreading disinformation and misinformation because it's not what the CDC has been saying. The Trusted News Initiative says, well, I'm going to kick you off of Twitter, and I'm going to kick you off of Facebook, and I'm going to kick you off of LinkedIn, and I'm going to try to cancel you, and I'm going to silence your voice if you say anything different from what the CDC or the WHO says. Those are the rules under the Trusted News Initiative led by the British Broadcasting Corporation that ties together all of the major legacy media all across the world. If you say anything that's different from what the official party line is coming out for the World Health Organization or your national health authority, you are spreading mis and disinformation, and you will be silenced. You will be canceled. Okay? But now we know that's propaganda. What they're doing to us is propaganda. They're not sharing with us the information. They're withholding it. Why are they withholding? Think this through with me. Okay? See, this isn't complicated stuff. You know, that's, by the way, this whole RNA vaccine thing, they try to hide, they try to make you think that you can't understand it. It's so sophisticated. It's not. It's easy stuff. Okay? Thank you. It is easy stuff.
It's a gene therapy, not a vaccine.
It is a gene therapy. How do I know that? Because I bloody invented it. I was working in a gene therapy lab. Okay? The same lab and the same ideas comes out of the same lab is the adenoviral vectored vaccines that is now Janssen, that traces straight back to that same lab and those same ideas, as does the RNA and does the DNA vaccines that are being promoted by Inovio and many others. There's even a licensed DNA vaccine in India right now. Okay, so there's that. But getting back to the media, okay, they are telling you that we're the ones spreading mis and disinformation and telling the lies. But we've now got 2 years of experience seeing them lying to us day after day after day. No masks, yes masks, no masks. You know, the whole thing. Yes, sir.
Hank, you just said about the misinformation. My TikTok just got shut down because of misinformation.
Yeah. Okay, so what is mis and disinformation? Do you know? Has the government defined what is mis and disinformation? No, it's whatever they say it is.
Whatever puts them on the hot seat.
It's whatever they want it to be. Anytime somebody says something they don't like, well, that's mis or disinformation. Now we'll talk about that a little bit more. But getting back on point, just thinking this through, okay? What they are promoting is products which are not licensed. They are under experimental use authorization, and like Paul was just saying, the way that law has been set up intentionally is that there's nobody you can sue. If your child, I've met Maddie DeGarry, I don't know how many of you are, I've met so many vaccine damaged people over the last year and a half as I travel about. And those children that are vaccine damaged, their parents have nowhere to go. I met a gentleman who used to run a 15,000 acre cattle ranch in Idaho. Lot of head, dairy and beef. He got a clot, blew out his spinal cord. He can't move. He's in an electric chair that somebody donated to him. He's got $2 million in debt, had to sell all his cows. He lives in a little apartment now. And nobody cares. There is no compensation. There is nobody he can turn to. If he would say that it was due to COVID, they'd give him money. But if he says it's due to the vaccine, which is what it was, he's out of luck. Those are the rules they've laid out for us. And they're telling us that those people that are talking up, that are so mouthy, that they're saying, no, this isn't right, saying, no, I've been damaged. Those people have got to be shut down, deplatformed, taken off of Facebook. Their groups that they set up. I mean, think this through. This first hit me after the Brett Weinstein podcast. We got off that, and Steve Kirsch actually just called me on the phone as I was trying to walk up the stairs. So Steve and I and Brett come together. We all know that we're putting our careers at risk. We try to speak truth. We get off the podcast. Steve and I are in the Uber going over to the Portland airport to get out of town. And people are just calling us nonstop. And the stories are heartbreaking. They've continued ever since. And one of the most heartbreaking for me are the women, typically, that call me. They talk about their reproductive problems. They talk about their changes in menstruation, and then the CDC starts saying, oh, it's because they're hysterical. Now they're finally agreeing, oh, yeah, there actually is a problem. But these people started calling us and telling us their stories and saying that they started to get this Facebook group together, and there was thousands and thousands of them talking to each other on Facebook about what they've experienced and what their problems were. And because all of their friends and family were telling them they're crazy. And then Facebook deletes them. I mean, talk about gaslighting. These people have experienced damage, personal damage. Everybody around them is telling them they're crazy. They get together in social media and start talking to each other and saying, hey, you're not crazy, I'm not crazy, we're all experiencing this. And what happens? They get shut down. That's the way this has gone all the way through. And it has been coordinated. One of the things that's been fascinating to me is it's all over the world. It's not just here in the States. It's not in Canada only. It is all over the world. They say the same things. They do the same things. They use the same strategies all over the world.
The Great Reset.
So, precisely, my friend. So, ever since Brett on that podcast said, you know, how can this happen? How can this be coordinated globally? How can they be doing this? Why are they doing this? That has deviled me ever since. I've been trying to figure this out ever since. About a year and a half now. I think I'm finally there. Over a year ago, I had a film crew come to the farm and shoot some video. It's going to come out soon, hopefully. And they kept talking about this crazy idea, this crazy conspiracy theory, the World Economic Forum. I'm like, what?
You owe nothing and be happy.
What? World Economic Forum, this is just a bunch of rich guys that go to Switzerland once a year in their jets and hang out and have TED Talks and drink wine, right? No. Okay? They've been working for 30 years to train people to be their gophers, to be their acolytes, to do their bidding. They've been training people for 30 years. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of their trainees all over the world. And they've intentionally, I mean, this isn't a conspiracy theory. You can look up the video of Klaus Schwab bragging about it.
He wrote a book, COVID-19, The Great Reset.
I know, we've read it. You know what's fascinating about that book, COVID-19, The Great Reset? Is it is full of BS. The guy isn't very smart. If you read the book, and it's not an easy read because it's just garbage. The science he talks about as if he's a scientist. He acts like he understands what's going on. It is full of bull. It is not science-based. And you know what? What I've observed, so here's the good news about this whole WEF crowd. You know, like Justin Trudeau and his finance minister and Gavin Newsom and Inslee in Washington State and the Prime Minister of New Zealand and the health director of Australia, all these people that were all wanting to lock us up, right? And disrespect us, okay? All of these people, when you listen to them, they're not very smart. I mean, have you watched Trudeau? I mean, the guy he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. And I don't think he's got much backbone. I think the real power is that finance minister behind him. I think she's the one telling him what to do, and Klaus Schwab. Okay? But all the good news about these characters is most of them aren't very smart. And we can beat them. Okay? We can beat them. But first thing we got to do is we got to out them. Okay? Now, usually the rule is that we don't dox people, right? But with this crowd, as far as I'm concerned, have at it. Now, what we're about to do, we've invested thousands of dollars. Oh, this locking them up isn't even going to do it. Okay, we've invested thousands of dollars, and we're teamed with a group in Sweden. And we have built a massive spreadsheet of over 4,000 names of WEF trainees. And we've got their CVs, we got their jobs, we got where they are, where they come from, where they're working now, who they used to work with. It's not completely filled out. We're about to put this up on a blockchain protected site so they can't take us down. And we're going to ask all of you, and we're going to ask Steve Bannon's posse to crowdsource the rest of those names. Okay? And when people figure out other ones that aren't on that list, we're going to get them on that list. And when I'll tell you, there's a ton of I'm not going to call them Americans. People that are residing in the United States have U.S. passports, let's put it that way, that are embedded throughout our government and throughout the tech industry and throughout the banking industry and throughout the bloody media. Okay? It's no surprise that the legacy media behaves the way it does. They are owned. Okay? And they are owned not by people here in the States. They are owned by these globalists. They are controlled by these globalists. I mean, I got to say, my understanding is the Washington Post is here somewhere. God bless them. My good friends. I was asked whether I want to be interviewed by the Washington Post. Sorry, guys, I've been there. Okay? The answer to that is hell no. Are you crazy? Okay? The way, so I'm going to say this is important too. Okay, I've learned a lot of things. I've had a really steep learning curve over the last 2 years. I've had to come from being in my little rabbit hole, my little foxhole, keep your head down so they can't shoot you. Okay, that's the way it is in D.C. I mean, there's two things in D.C. as somebody working with the government that you need to know. Number one, keep your head down so they can't shoot you. Number two, because if they can't see you, they can't get you. Number two, if you want a friend in D.C., get a dog. Okay? This town is wicked. There is no ethics.
That's why we wear the V mask.
This town is wicked. And don't expect anything to be nice or fair. This is a key message. I was out on the West Coast talking to folks last weekend. You got to understand this is total information warfare. Okay? And total information control. They want to control every channel of information that you have access to. They want to control what you think, how you think, what you do, what you wake up and have for breakfast. Okay? They want to control it all. And they will do anything. There are no ethics. And so if you're thinking to yourself, well, that's not fair. I'm sorry, guys. Wake up. Okay? The world is not fair, and the media is absolutely not fair. So don't expect it. Okay? And give them no quarter. Okay? They're not going to give you any quarter. They're not going to be nice to you. They're not nice to me. Do I whine and complain? No. Okay? Am I going to quit? No. Okay? Just because they're mean to me, okay, that doesn't matter. It's not about me. It's about you. And they can keep being mean and nasty and trying to gaslight me and say, oh, no, you didn't invent RNA, or whatever it is that they want to do tomorrow. You know, I don't pet my dog correctly. Whatever it is, I don't care. Okay? It doesn't matter. Because they will say anything. They will say anything to get under your skin. They're bullies. Remember? In grade school? They are too. Yeah, but they don't care. So that's another thing. Yeah, are they criminals? The law doesn't matter anymore. Okay? That's another thing. You got to get it. You got to get it out of your head that they will do the right thing. You got to stop thinking that they will obey the law. They won't. You truckers have known this, right? When you're driving into D.C., okay, they do all kinds of harassment stuff they're not allowed to do. It doesn't matter. When they came and started forcing vaccines on kids, started forcing unlicensed vaccines through mandates on all of you, remember that's what got this started. What got this started was forcing an unlicensed vaccine that doesn't work. It doesn't protect infection. It doesn't protect from spread. It doesn't protect from replication. And they said you had to take it anyhow if you wanted to drive across the border. Remember, that's how this started. Okay? Okay? And they wanted to do this. Why? Why? What's in it for them?
Control. Depopulation.
I don't know about the depopulation thing. I'm a little slow to the party, but I know what Klaus Schwab has said and what Bill Gates has said about wanting to have less population. Okay, but I'm there that this is not about public health. This is absolutely about control, because it doesn't make any sense otherwise. I gotta follow the data, and the data say this is not about public health. Now, you guys all know, because you're an informed group, that this whole logic, take the jab, get the number, have your digital ID, what goes next? Oh, digital currency. Okay, who was it that discovered for us, that made us all aware, the whole bloody world could see the game? It was the Canadian truckers that outed the game. Okay? And what they blessed, I mean, talk about taking one for the team. Okay? Those guys lost their rigs because they forced Justin Trudeau to pull out the big gun, the only gun that he really had to play, because he lives in the digital world. He doesn't live in the analog world that the doctors have to live in. You know, people that actually work for a living, and the truckers have to live in, and the farmers have to live in, and the guys that move the boxes in Amazon have to live in. Justin Trudeau is a creature of the World Economic Forum, and he lives in the digital world. And if you're in the digital world, you're one of these finance guys. Remember, what World Economic Forum is all about is bringing together the politicians and the big corporations. Okay? That's the world that Justin Trudeau lives in. And by the way, anybody think through the fact that Barack Obama, his grandma that raised him, was a banker? Okay? Everybody thought Barack Obama was this great populist. He was not. He represented the financial interests. He represented the big banks all the way through. He's part of this same long con that's been going on for 30 years. Okay? That is a fact. Okay? And it's not about black or white. It's about the digital financial people trying to control the rest of us. And this is where the WEF is coming from. They believe that if you read through their writings, they believe that we've got a major financial crisis that's about to hit us. And a lot of people, well, they believe, remember the Great Recession? I lost my house over that. Okay? That was the prelude. They thought they could come out of that by printing money and doing a lot of other stuff, and it's catching up to them now. The hyperinflation is about to hit us. And these folks that like to hang out in Davos are busy wondering what the heck they're going to do, because fiat currency and that whole scheme that's held them up is in danger of collapsing. And their ability to control all of us is in danger of collapsing. So they want to move us towards a world in which we've all got a digital ID. Why? Then they want to move to digital currency. And this is the point where Justin Trudeau let the cat out of the bag. You're right. The use of weaponization of the financial system is a modern weapon of mass destruction. I'm there on that.
Why are you not running for
Okay,
president?
but so what Justin Trudeau? Let me get it out of my mouth. Sometimes I talk too much. What Justin did, bless his heart, is he let the cat out of the bag. Because he was so frightened. Remember? Oh, I've got COVID. Gotta hide. He would never meet with anybody, okay, except for his little buddies in the legislature. He would never meet with the truckers. But they were sitting there in his capital city honking, raising a ruckus, being peaceful, by the way, which you all are doing too. Thank you. But he wanted to exert his authority. So what did he do? He went to the big trigger. He pushed the button and he said, anybody that's involved in supporting these truckers, we're going to shut down your bank account. Okay? We're going to shut down your bank account. Now, what happened? Again, think this through with me. You may not realize what happened. Okay? What happened was that the Canadian banking system has been seen as a refuge, a safe refuge for money, particularly money from China. Because if you're a Chinese billionaire, you're at risk because of the social credit system of the CCP saying, we don't like you anymore. You're saying the wrong thing. You're doing the wrong thing. We're going to declare you corrupt, and you're going to get all your money taken away. That's the way it works under the CCP. It's the way, by the way, they want it to work under digital currency if the WEF gets numbers for all of us. That's the world they want to live in. They want to have the power that the Central Communist Party of China has. Justin Trudeau wanted to have that power. And he pulled that trigger before he should have. And what happened? People that were using the Canadian financial system as a safe harbor for their big money suddenly said, uh-oh, not so safe anymore. And they started getting out of Dodge. Okay? They started pulling their cash out, and suddenly the big banks like TD In Canada, we're facing a liquidity crisis. And they are the ones that pulled the trigger on Justin Trudeau. Okay? But now the rest of the world knows that Canada is no longer a safe harbor for their money. The Canadian banking system is not safe. Justin Trudeau will pull the rug out from under you if he doesn't like you. Okay? And they want to do that here in the States too. Okay? But what he did is he almost completely crashed the Canadian banking system, and that's why that stopped, but yet he still hasn't stopped. Now, I recorded a video with Ryan Cole after the truckers started moving out of the capital. There was a farmer, I still can't believe this story. There's a farmer that was going to have a pig roast for the truckers. Canadian farmer. He said, come on over, we're going to have a party in my place. We're going to roast some pig. And the Canadian government found out about it. What'd they do? They canceled his bank account because he's going to have a pig roast for the truckers. I mean, this is the world that they want to impose on us. And you better recognize it now. That's the world they want to put us in, is a world in which we've all got numbers on us. We've got digital currency, which they can control, and they can push a button at a moment's notice and cancel your bank account. Now think, car won't start, all this stuff they're putting in. I mean, frankly, I'm glad I got my '06 GMC. So that's the world they want, because the folks that live in this digital world have no easy way to control the rest of us that live in the analog world. We live in the messy real world where you got to feed your kids and pay your rent, do that kind of stuff. They're off thinking big thoughts and trying to do big strategy and control the world and control Ukraine and blah, blah, blah. Okay? Thinking they're big thoughts and doing, trying to control everything. The rest of us are just trying to get along with our lives. Okay? That's where I'm at. Frankly, I wanted to retire. I don't want to do this. I wanted to hang out my farm with my wife and my horses and be done with this and grow fruit trees. But that's not the way this is playing. Now I'm gonna move to some prepared information. Okay? So just give me a minute. Okay, so some of these things I kind of touched on. Regarding censorship and propaganda, number one, this is not fair. Don't think it's fair. Don't expect it to be fair. This is total information warfare. Okay? So just get over that. And when they come at you, by the way, here's a lesson learned. When they come at you from the press and they say, oh, I just want to help tell your story, okay? Run, okay? That is the biggest BS line of all. Okay, when they say that, what they're saying is they want to get under your skin, get some little facts that they can exploit and weaponize, and then use that to write some nasty letter that they're going to publish. Okay, that's the little trick that I first learned that with the Atlantic Monthly. We're not done with them yet. But that's how this works. And so when you see the press come at you and they want to have an interview and, oh, I just want to tell your story, tell them to go pound sand. So, on censorship, this is not personal. It's not about medicine and healthcare. This is about total information control for political purposes. Medicine and healthcare have just become one of the many battlegrounds. This is another key point. Somebody asked me today, Naomi Wolf, interviewing me, she said, well, what's it going to look? When are we going to know when this war is over? I'm like, Naomi, come on. This is just a skirmish. Okay? This is not the war. This is one little tiny battle, guys. We may win this little tiny battle. How will we know? Well, when they stop this ridiculous state of emergency that's allowing them to suspend the Constitution, then we will have won this little skirmish. But this battle has been going on for 30 years. It's going to keep going on. COVID was politicized because it was deemed politically useful to do so. And there are no recognized ethical boundaries in this battle. It's long been apparent that the U.S. and other Western governments have intentionally used the guise of an overstated public health crisis to justify suspension of laws and rights that would be enforced without such a crisis, including the federal common rule, which defines the rights of all citizens to informed consent for medical procedures. This is my first tip-off, that they didn't care about the law, is when they disregarded the common rule. And they disregarded the cornerstone of medical ethics. And they would not allow you to have informed consent because they blocked your ability to get informed consent by constraining any information that would cause you to become, quote, vaccine hesitant. Okay, that was the CDC's justification for withholding all that data. Think this through with me, okay? We're going to withhold information because if we told you this information, you would become vaccine hesitant. Okay? What does that sound like? Let me put it in common words. If we told you the stuff we know, you wouldn't take the jab. Okay? And we want you to take the jab, and so we're not going to tell you the truth. We're going to hide it from you, and we're not going to let you make your own decision. The accountability is a whole nother thing, and piercing the shield of accountability and liability is what the lawyers are all about right now. Okay? Now, I want to read you something just so we baseline this. What is the rule? What is the law? Okay? I'm going to read you something. You might recognize it. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Congress shall make no law. But, by the way, they spent over $1 billion doing it. Okay? Thank you, Blaze Media, for your FOIA that revealed that. Regarding journalism, we're now in that. You may not know this. I've had to learn so many things. You think that they go to journalism school at Columbia University, big fancy journalism school, to learn how to do journalism, right? And like back in the days of Walter Cronkite, when we say, oh, well, there's probably two sides to everything, and we're going to examine the facts, and we're going to share the facts with you. No, that's not what they teach at Columbia now. What they teach is something called advocacy journalism. It's also called solutions journalism. Now, here's the Merriam-Webster definition of advocacy journalism. Journalism that advocates a cause or expresses a viewpoint. This is another one of those word tricks. Okay? Here's also from Merriam-Webster the definition of propaganda. The spreading of ideas, information, or rumor for the purpose of helping or injuring an institution, a cause, or a person. Ideas, facts, or allegations spread deliberately to further one's cause or damage an opposing cause. Is there any difference between the definition of propaganda and the definition of advocacy journalism? No, there is not. Advocacy journalism is what they're teaching these journalists in journalism school now. Now, here's a little fun fact. You know who's funding these curricula in journalism schools for advocacy journalism? They also call it solutions journalism. It's Bill Gates. Okay? Homeland Security. Let's talk a little bit about Homeland Security. It's not the job of election officials or the Department of Homeland Security to control the narrative or free speech. We call this mission creep. Okay? It's not their job. It was never their job to control what you can talk about. Now I'm going to read you something. It's getting a little cold. This is the National Terrorism Advisory System Bulletin of February 7th from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Okay? Summary of terrorism threat to the U.S. homeland. Sounds pretty scary. The United States remains in a heightened threat environment fueled by several factors, including an online environment filled with false and misleading narratives and conspiracy, dis, and malinformation. By the way, that's MDM. Introduced and amplified by foreign and domestic threat actors. Listen to this, the primary terrorism-related threat to the United States is not coming from the Islamic republics, okay? The primary terrorism-related threat to the United States continues to stem from lone offenders or small cells of individuals who are motivated by a range of foreign or domestic grievances, often cultivated through the consumption of certain online content, including the proliferation of false or misleading narratives which sow discord and undermine public trust in U.S. government institutions. Okay? If by the way, I'm actively sowing and undermining public trust in U.S. government institutions by telling you they're being lying to you. Key factors. This is the Homeland Security people, right? Key factors contributing to the current heightened threat environment include the proliferation of false or misleading narratives which sow discord or undermine public trust in U.S. government institutions. For example, there is widespread online proliferation of false or misleading narratives regarding unsubstantiated widespread election fraud and COVID-19. Catch what they just did? They just tied COVID-19 to January 6th. Okay? Now it goes further. Grievances associated with these themes in extremist attacks during 2021. You guys look pretty violent to me. Matter of fact, there has been no violence from the truckers in Canada or in the United States, with the exception of some false flag provocateurs waving Nazi flags. Okay? You guys have done what has to be done. Those of us that are objectors, those of us that are speaking the truth, we must keep speaking our truth, but we must do it in a non-violent fashion. Okay? We have to do this because they will get violent at us at a moment's notice. Scientists, the press, physicians, and lay people must be able to speak and write freely. In this day and age, there is no one right answer for everyone when it comes to healthcare treatments and the choice to take a vaccine. Ourselves to be censored in this manner. It's time that our legislative and judicial branches of government do their job to protect our First Amendment rights. This bulletin from the Department of Homeland Security cannot be allowed to stand, or we will no longer have freedom of speech in this country. Now, it's getting a little bit of weather.
Thank you.
I'm going to leave you with three simple words.
Lock them up!
Three simple words. No. There's no question that some people deserve to be punished, and they've got to be outed. But that's not going to cure what's wrong here. Okay? It's not going to get us back to a healthy country. There's three words: dignity and community. Okay? Integrity means don't lie. Okay? Have integrity. Don't twist the truth. Stop the propaganda and censorship. Integrity is what's gone wrong all the way through our government and our industries. We've got to restore integrity. Dignity, why do I use that word dignity? Because dignity is the soul. It is the core of what makes us human. It wouldn't make us different from animals. Okay? We have to respect each other's dignity. I'm a farmer. I used to be a farmhand. I used to be a scientist. I treat everybody with dignity. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what your job is. I don't care about how educated you are. You are all fellow human beings, fellow travelers, and you all deserve to be treated with dignity. And you know what's wrong with the mandates? They totally disrespect your dignity. Okay? Dignity has got to be respected. We got to force these folks that think they're all high and mighty to recognize that we're not just cannon fodder. We're not just the deplorables. We're not just the eaters, to use the WEF terms. Okay? We have to be treated with dignity. We're fellow humans. The last one, community. Why do I always... Matthias Desmond teaches that the real problem here is that we've lost community. And what I've seen it again and again are the people that are most psychosis are the people in the religious communities and the people of faith. And what do they have in addition to their faith? They still have community. You guys are a community. You've come together as a community. If you remember your friends and you stay in touch, you will still be a community when you go out. And you'll each form little cells and build more community and more friends and more colleagues, and you'll take care of each other. That's where things went wrong. We lost community. We have to rebuild community. It's going to be a long, hard trip. It's going to take time. We got to take care of our elders. We got to take care of our children. Because I'll tell you, here's the scary thing. The Social Security system is going to go bankrupt while most of us are still alive. Okay? We're going to be in a position where we've got to be able to rely on ourselves and each other. We cannot look to mommy government because it's not going to be there. It's bankrupt already. It's just waiting to die. Okay? We've got to take care of each other, and we've got to take care of our children, and we've got to take care of our elders. And the way that we do that is we rebuild community. Okay? Now I'm going to leave you with the last one. The truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Set it free. It'll defend itself. I thank you. I wish you the best. You gotta stay true to yourselves. Stay true to yourselves and think for yourselves. Don't let me think for you. Don't let the Washington Post think for you. Don't let CNN think for you. New world where we cannot trust the information that's being shoved down our throat. You've got to seek out every bit of information from every channel you can, and you got to think for yourself, because if you don't, they're going to do your thinking for you, and you're not going to like where that ends up. Okay? That's right. Okay? Thank you. God bless all of you.